everyone, welcome to today's session where we're going to resume our discussion of the essay Third Thoughts by E.V. Lucas. And as we have discussed in the previous session, that the narrator, the author's friend, had bought a painting from a curiosity shop in a cathedral city, and he became successful in selling it with huge profit of £50 because it turned out to be a real Turner, an original painting by the celebrated painter Turner. So he felt highly elated, and in that first flush of enthusiasm, or in that generous benevolence, in the mood of generous benevolence, he wrote a short note about his successful business transaction, and in this mood he decided to share the profit equally with the dealer from whom he had bought the painting. So this was in the first section, where after writing a note, since he was not having the stamps and he was already late by an hour, so he went to bed, and he could not post it. So from this point further, what the narrator says, let's read it. At about 3:30 a.m. I woke widely up, and according to custom began to review my life's errors, which are in no danger of ever suffering from loneliness. So as he could not sleep at night, and he woke up at 3:30 a.m. and he began to recall or review or evaluate the numerous errors of his life in a state of loneliness. From these I reached, by way of mitigation, my recent successful piece of suffering, and this remembered him his successful transaction of the previous day. Suffering means bargaining, and put the latter to the dealer under both examination and cross-examination. And as I have told you that he had already written the short note, the letter, but he could not post it. So this process of evaluation and review led him to examine and cross-examine the contents of the letter. Why? So my thoughts ran, give him half. Why be quixotic? This is no world for queerty. So now here he is thinking, he's thinking again, as he is reconsidering about his previous decision of making the dealer a sharer of his profit. Now he is thinking over his decision again, and he's saying, and he's thinking, or he's telling that that he thought what he's telling, that what he thought at that time, that why give him half, why to give half of his profit to the dealer, why be quixotic. Here this word quixotic is actually, quixotic means, quixotic or quixotry is related to possessing the desire to do noble and good deeds. It is actually unselfish or romantic unselfishness, which is related to the protagonist Don Quixote in a Spanish novel, Don Quixote by Cervantes. So there was this protagonist, it was his chief attribute to be foolishly romantic and to do noble and ideal deeds. So this is a quixotry. And the narrator is pondering over that it is useless. It is a useless thing to be quixotic in this modern world. This is no world for quixotry. It was my eye that detected the probability of the drawing, not his. And he is further thinking that it was actually his sharp vision, his sharp his sharp eye for the masterpieces, which detected the possibility of the business in that drawing, not his. And whereas the dealer himself was incapable, or he could not identify the real worth of that painting, not his. He is giving, we can very well identify that he is giving argument to change his decision, because he is reconsidering his decision. So that's why he wants to give justifiable arguments to satisfy his soul, because his soul is full of generous and noble instincts, which wants to give, which wants to share. But here his mind is arguing, his mind, which is related to business, it is arguing his those instincts are arguing with his noble and generous instincts, that why to give him, because these are the arguments actually, that he had indeed failed, did not know his business, and even he had failed in this way in his own business. He is dealing in a curiosity shop. He has a curiosity shop and he has failed to identify the masterpiece. Why put a premium on inaptitude? So he is thinking that why should I put a high price on his unskillfulness? He was not so skillful in identifying or recognizing the Turner, the real Turner, genuine Turner. No, a present of say £10 at the most would more than adequately meet the case. So now, after pondering over, after ruminating over these facts, now he has come to the conclusion that he will reduce the amount of the proposed reward to £10, from half. Earlier he was sharing the half of his profit, and now he's saying that 10 would be more than enough. Next, Sleep still refusing to oblige me. So after he has taken this decision, okay, I will share, I will send £10 to the dealer from whom he had bought the painting. Sleep still refusing to oblige me. I took a book of short stories and read one. So as he was unable to sleep, he could not sleep because ideas and thoughts were continuously popping up in his mind. So he started reading a book of short stories. Then I closed my eyes again and again, began to think about the dealer. Now he's thinking about the time and again he is coming to that thought only. Why? So my thoughts ran. Send him £10. It will only give him a wrong idea of his customers. Again the arguments. It is against these arguments are against his, again very much against his noble and generous instincts, which is soul. So as in the previous session we have discussed that this narrative is actually about how the hero of our story is haggling or struggling with his soul, with his generous and good instincts. So this is this in this throughout this the reading of this text we can identify this, we can notice this thing very well, that again he is arguing with his soul. It will only give him a wrong idea of his customers. Why do we give him £10? Now he is thinking over this fact that why £10? It will only give him a wrong idea of his customers, none other of whom would be so fair, so sporting as I. So now he is thinking that it is a wrong idea, it is not practical, that to give him £10, because it would give the dealer a wrong conception or wrong idea of his customers, about his customers, because after getting my letter he would it might happen that he would always expect such letters from his customers, from such letters of benevolence, from such letter of rewards of his customers, none other of whom would be, because he will not get such letters in future. Only I am sending this letter, so it would give the wrong idea of his customer. He will expect similar letters every day, he will expect similar treatments every day and be disappointed, and when he will not get, because he is not going to get such letters from any other one except me, because he is saying that this is my thinking, I am suffering from this benevolence or generous instincts. So that's why he's saying he's not going to get such letters from anyone and be disappointed, and then he will become embittered, he will become sad and tearful and go down the vale of tears, a miserable creature, and in this way the dealer will become miserable creature. He looked a nice old man too, a pity, nay a crime, to injure such a nature. So he's saying he's a nice old man. Why I can't injure his existing nature. It will be just injuring his existing nature. I will spoil him. No, £10 is absurd, 5 would be plenty. So now he has again, in his repeatedly, he is repeatedly considering or reconsidering his decision of sending the money to the dealer, sending the share to the dealer, and now he has reduced the supposed or the proposed reward from 10 to 5. 5 would be plenty. 10 would put him above himself, because 10 will be not appropriate. He will think very high about the customers later then. So we can very well here think or identify, these lines are making us think that in his first excitement of generosity, in his like gesture of generosity, first he was ready to share half of his profit. But when this excitement or frenzy or his elation cooled down, he thought over the matter again, as he is laying awake whole night. He laid awake whole night, so he's thinking over the matter, and now he has reduced his reward, the amount of his reward, from half of his profit to 10 pounds, and then 10 pounds to the 5 pounds. Now let's see what happens next. While I was dressing the next morning, I thought about the dealer again. Why should I? So my thoughts ran. Directly I had for the first time in my life brought off a financial coup, spoil it by giving a large part of the profit away. So the next morning while he was dressing, he started ruminating about this deal, or about his decision of sending 5 pounds to the dealer. He is thinking over it again. Why should I send this much large amount, or which this 5 pounds, to the dealer directly? I had for the first time, because it is in my whole life, it is the first time when I have got such a success. Coop means a successful move, a very financial successful move. I have hit this success in a very first time in my life. Spoil it? Why should I spoil it by giving a large part of the profit away? Was not that flying in the face of the goddess of business, whoever she may be? So now he's thinking that will it not be a disregard? Will it not be an open disregard to the goddess of business, who has become so much benevolent or graceful on me very first time, and bestowed upon me this gift, this huge sum of money? Was it not asking her to disregard me? Will it not be a disregard of her gift, because I am I'm gift I'm giving away, by giving away the gift of goddess of business to anyone? It will be uh, just a disregard. She may become angry, or it will be just like treating goddess of business disrespectfully. Was it not asking her to disregard me? Only a day or so often we had at last got on terms. So at last she has granted this her benevolence upon me, and it will it be fair? Will it be appropriate? There is no fury like a women's can't, and there is no fury, there is no such fury when a woman is ill treated, and it is dangerous to face a furious woman when she is ill treated. So it would probably be the end of me, and it might happen that she will never smile on me next, or she will never be graceful upon me from the next time, because I am disregarding her gifts. So these are the arguments which he is giving to his soul in order to justify his decision of giving 5 pounds, and whether he should give 5 pounds or less. Now again he is considering and reconsidering. It would probably be the end of me. City magnates are successful, probably just because they don't do these foolish impulsive things. Impulse is the negation of magnetism. Here this word magnetism means the art of securing wealth and status in life. So he's saying that that I have this foolish impulse of generosity, and this impulse is just like a negation or denial of magnetism, of becoming successful in business. This impulse is the denial, and city magnates or the successful businessmen are those men who don't pay attention, or who ignore, or who don't act on their impulse, who don't indulge uh, in their foolish impulse of generosity, or who ignore their generous or benevolent instincts, they can only be successful. So if I am to make any kind of figure in this new role of fine art speculator, so my thoughts continued, I must control my feelings. So now he is coming to the conclusion that if I were to be successful, or if I were to achieve any successful position in this field of business, which is of fine art speculator, as he wants to become successful in this field. Fine art speculator is the one who can detect the masterpiece at a nominal price, who can purchase by detecting and purchasing the masterpieces from curiosity shops at nominal price, and then selling them at their true values, and in this way earning a huge profit. This is what he wants to do, and if he wants to he's thinking that if he wants to become successful in this field, then he has to control these all impulses, or feelings of generosity, his gesture of generosity. No, £5 is absurd. A dasher of £1 will meet the case. A dasher is a financial incentive. So he is saying that £1, this kind of incentive, or this much incentive is enough for him, for the dealer. It will be nothing to me, or at any rate, nothing serious, but a gift of quail and manna from a clear sky to the dealer. So he's saying that this £1, this amount of £1 is a trifling amount for me. It is not much amount for me, but for the dealer it would be like an unexpected blessing or gift. Quail and manna from a clear sky, if this is a phrase which means we can say biblical phrase, which means unexpected bliss or gift. So but this gift will be an unexpected blessing for the dealer, as he has not expected it, and I'm going to share it, I'm going to give it to the dealer as a reward. So to the dealer, it will be a gift to the dealer. It is a trifling amount for me, so I can give it without however doing him any harm. Now this without however doing him any harm is that he is satisfying the instincts of his soul, that if he gives large amount to the dealer, it will give him harm, it will make him miserable, as he has told earlier, that it will make him miserable, it will make him expect similar treatments from his other customers, and in this way he will become embittered. But this small amount of money will make him no harm, it will not spoil him. A pound will be ample, accompanied by a brief note. So in this way, with a brief note, I will send him a pound. The note was to the effect that I had sold the drawing at a profit, which enabled me to make him a present. So the note will contain, what content the note contained, that where he is expressing his ideas and feelings, that he had sold the drawing at a profit, which has made him able to present a present, or to give a gift to the old man, to the dealer, because it was an old and perhaps odd belief of mine. And he is saying that why is he sharing, in the note he has mentioned that why is he sharing his profit, or why is he giving £1 reward to the dealer, because it was his belief that one should do this kind of thing, good luck should be shared. I had the envelope in my pocket containing the note and the check when I reached the club for lunch, and that afternoon I played bridge so disastrously that I was glad I had not posted it. So he had an envelope containing a note and a check in that, and he went to club. After it, at that afternoon he went to club for lunch, and in the club he played that game of bridge so badly, so disastrously, that he lost all he had that afternoon. In the game of bridge he lost all he had, and he was glad that he had not posted it. So that means he is left with nothing now. In his pocket there is nothing, no amount, because he has lost his amount in the game of bridge. After all, so my thoughts ran as I destroyed the envelope and contents. Such bargains are all part of the game. Buying and selling are a perfectly straightforward matter between dealer and customer. The dealer asks as much as he thinks he can extort, and the customer, having paid it, is under no obligation whatever to the dealer. The incident is closed. So after this, he concludes that it's not a big deal by in his third thoughts. Now after so many repeated reconsiderations, now he has after all concluded that buying and selling are basic transactions between a dealer and a customer, and when the deal is done, there is no obligation on either side. There is no obligation of any duty on either side. So there is no point, there is no question in giving any kind of reward or any kind of amount to the dealer. That means he he decided to not to give anything to the dealer, and he didn't send any note or amount to the dealer. So this was the essay Third Thoughts by E.V. Lucas, where in the throughout the story or throughout this whole text we have noticed very well a gentle put of satire, a put of gentle satire on money making civilization. And along with this essay also reflects the innate greed in man, the greed that dominates over one's desire to do good and noble deeds. So this is what we can have, or we can unfold from this essay, and more you can unpack when you read this text, this piece more. And I encourage you to read the text on your own, and the whole text. So that's all for today, and I look forward to see you in the next session. Thank you for your attention.